Hello, everyone. It's Will, and I am here with another tarot reading. I have picked out a bunch of really great decks today. I'm just going to put some smoke on all of these cards, and then we are going to answer the question, what is your superpower? What is your superpower? So I've got, this is the deck we're going to start with. This is the Trinity Tarot, and I've just pulled the major arcana from this one. We're going to use this for our significators. Down here, I've got the Inversion Tarot. This is going to be for a focus message. I'll put that aside for now. For pile one, you've got Tarot of the Abyss. Tarot of the Abyss for group one. For group two, we've got the Ethereal Visions Tarot Luna Edition. That's number 2. And for group 3, we've got Antique Anatomy right there. I'll set that aside. So let's start with significators using the Trinity Tarot. And I'd like you to choose whichever card you think best represents your superpower. I'm going to pair them up with 3 crystals. Let's do that. Tourmaline, ocean jasper, flower agate. 1, 2, 3. I like that. Let's lay out 3 significators. All right, let's see what we've got. Group 1, Tourmaline and the Lovers. Is your superpower your love? That's pretty straightforward. Maybe you're also good at making choices, making decisions. That could be a secondary way of reading that card. Group 2 with the Ocean Jasper, the Magician. You can manifest whatever it is you're trying to do, trying to make happen in the world. Your superpower is that it gets done. And 3, the Hanged One. Ooh, that's an interesting one with the Hanged One. Your superpower is that you can see things from a perspective that nobody else gets, right? So, group 1, the Lovers with the black tourmaline. Group 2, the Magician with the ocean jasper. And group 3, the Hanged One with the flower agate. You'll find the timestamps below, and I will see you in your reading. Hello, group 1, and welcome to your reading. You chose the Lovers as your significator today for what is your superpower. You're a lover, not a fighter, perhaps. And we've got the tourmaline here as the crystal. I love the weight of this. Let me just set it. I'll set it up here next to the card. I've got Tarot of the Abyss ready to go. I've shuffled it. Let's lay out some cards, shall we? Let's start with 3. And I just want to know more about this gift of yours, right? This lover's gift of yours. So I'm sort of going to repeat the question, right? Like, what is your gift? We got Lovers for group 1, but like, tell us more. What is the specific nature of the gift that you have, your superpower that you have? Let's just give these a little bit more of a shuffle. And then we will pull some cards to see. All right, let's see. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Ooh, the Devil comes out at the top of the reading. Devil and Lovers. So, I'm thinking here maybe your passion can get the better of you sometimes. Maybe you're the kind of person who falls into a relationship, like falls in love and just falls really hard. That is what comes to mind here. Like maybe you are experiencing love super deeply, or attraction if it's not love. You know, the devil can be about like sex too, right? So 10 of Cups. Oh, with the Lovers and the Devil. Interesting. So you've sort of got two polarities to your superpower here. On the one hand, the devil. On the other, the 10 of Cups. This is like long-term love, right? 10 of Cups is overflowing, long-lasting. This is it. This is a relationship that is like storybook, right? That like seems like it's fiction, right? That it's fictional, that it's not even real. It's so idyllic and perfect. What's the third card here? The Sun. Wow. Okay. So, here's how I would interpret this. I would interpret the majors, the devil and the sun, as being the cause, and the 10 of Cups as being what actually happens because of the causes, right? So if your superpower is your love, then that causes you, along with the devil and the sun, to form really intense, long-lasting relationships with others, right? That are influenced by your extremely strong attraction, right? That can almost also be a weakness of yours potentially, right? We're asking about your superpower, but it's the same way that, like, what is it? Superman has the weakness of kryptonite, right? So like the stronger you are, doesn't mean you're without a weakness. You have a weakness, and it seems like your weakness is also a different side of the coin of your ability to love very greatly, very deeply, right? Like your superpower has a weakness built into it, which I suppose is kind of true for all of us to some extent, right? So with the sun, I would add that it's not just romantic relationships, although that absolutely is in play here with the Lovers and 10 of Cups. But with the sun, I would add it's friendships too, right? I always think of friendship when I'm looking at the sun card. And that's primarily because of the Marseille tradition, right? So it's not just that you have a superpower of forming great, very strong romantic relationships, but your ability to form those great relationships carries through into your friendships too. And I would imagine it's like also with family members and all kinds of different people, right? So it's your relationships. That is your superpower. And also, to some extent, it's your weakness, right? That you care so much about your relationships and care so much about other people that I wonder if sometimes you're even putting other people in ahead of yourself, right? And maybe that could even be to your detriment a little bit. So let's ask another question, and I'd like to know, where does this come through most strongly in your life right now? Where does your superpower come through most strongly in your life right now? Eight of Wands, passion, travel, busyness, career. Ooh, the Tower. Change of routine. Something, so you've been doing something and now you're not doing it anymore. Knight of Cups. Ooh, okay. Knight of Cups is our Sir Galahad, our knight in shining armor, our romantic partner over here. And so is there someone you're dating? Is there someone you've been dating or want to date? There's something going on with this Knight of Cups person. So I'm thinking about the Eight of Wands as being like you're really busy, you're taking care of a lot of things. Maybe you're kind of stressed out. There could have been travel involved. Things are happening very quickly, right? Maybe you're having to make some big decisions about something. And the Tower, as we all know, is about something needing to come down, to fall apart a little bit, so that something new can be born, so that something new can be built on top of that foundation, which maybe wasn't as strong as you had thought it was going to be. And once that happens, this Knight of Cups person can come into your life more strongly, or at all, I suppose. So I wonder if, like, your busyness, whatever it is that's distracting you, whatever it is that's making you busy, where you're doing lots of things, you're moving around, you're traveling, you're flying through the air, right? That needs to fall apart, stop. There needs to be a transition, a change of your sort of everyday, ordinary routine, right? So that there's time and energy for this Knight of Cups person. So, like, I'm seeing that there's an opportunity here for you to use your superpower with this Knight of Cups person, but a change needs to happen before that opportunity is really going to manifest itself, right? So, like, there's a possibility here of utilizing your superpower if the Tower situation can be appropriately resolved. So let's ask, what should you do? What is the best course of action that you could take in order to create a situation or modify your current situation so that you can use your power, your superpower, your love, to its greatest potential? Which I think might involve this Knight of Wands figure. Knight of Swords. Multiple knights in here. So we know that the Lovers is associated with Gemini, and that Gemini is an air sign, right? And then we see the Knight of Swords come up here. And so I'm thinking, like, fight for your love, right? Take action, do something, fight for it, cut things out of your life so that other things can come in. The Magician, manifest it. Use your power. Use your power. That's what it says, right? The Magician is about power. The Magician has power. Use it. Two of Swords. We've got swords again. You have a choice to make. So I think there's something going on with this Tower where, like, are you maybe stuck in a routine that's not letting you be a lover, so to speak? And do you need to fight in order to knock that tower down? Maybe your knight in shining armor is imprisoned up there and you need to go save him. maybe you can use your sword and your magician's powers to make the choice to let that tower fall or deliberately cause it to fall, right? And that might be kind of uncomfortable, but I think it's really necessary here. There's something with this tower that you need to deal with in order to sort of fully realize everything that your superpower has available to you, that like the potential of your superpower is being blocked by this tower. And I think metaphorically, the tower is, it can be ego, right? It can be the set of ideas that you have about yourself. And I think often those ideas then manifest themselves in behaviors that we repeat every day over and over, right? We do something or we don't do something. We avoid things. We do things maybe that don't put us in situations where we can express the love that has so much potential in us. I think you need to acknowledge that, fight, manifest, like decide that you're not going to let that happen anymore, if indeed that is what's happening. So let's see, what shall we do? Shall we ask? Let's ask, what is the greatest possible outcome that could come out of this if you let that tower fall or deliberately knock it down? You know, if you're not afraid of getting hurt, if you're not afraid of having your ego bruised, if you're not afraid of changing your routine and your habits in order to let love into your life so that you can express this superpower of yours, what could you get out of that? That's our question. King of Pentacles, great power over your well-being, right? Very comfortable, sensual, powerful, happy. Page of Swords, you could learn something, right? You could gain new information. And Three of Swords, learning again, right? So I might even read this as a king turning into a page, as though maybe your King of Pentacles is kind of your tower, right? The King of Pentacles is very comfortable, but is he happy or she happy, right? And to some extent, yeah, I think mostly the King of Pentacles is usually fairly happy, but they can become so comfortable and they like comfort so much that they stop growing, right? Because growth requires some discomfort. And we've got growth over here with the 3. And so this is sort of saying to me, what's the best possible outcome? It's that you actually get to start over. You wouldn't be a comfortable king anymore, but you'd be a page with all of this potential to learn and to grow and to become different, right? And then that's reinforced, I think, with the 3 of Swords. It's actually learning. In this version of the card, right, we don't have the heartbreak. We have someone reading and looking at these swords and letters and everything coming out of the book, gaining knowledge, right? And so I think that's the best possible outcome for you here, which looks great, right? But it might be scary if you're in King of Pentacles mode to sort of give up that comfort and drop back down to being a page, but it might also be the only way you're going to access the full potential of your superpower to love, right? Let's pull 3 cards from the Inversion Tarot and let's ask just for a focus message. Like, what should you be focusing on right now in the immediate future to get the most out of your superpower of love? So to restate the question, what should you be focusing on right now to get the most out of your superpower? And we'll pull 3 cards to answer that. Ace of Swords, you got to pick that sword up. Put down your pentacle, pick up the sword. 7 of Swords, make a plan, strategize. Use your mind, right? 10 of Pentacles. So that's interesting to see because it does modify a little bit what I'd said earlier. It's not saying drop all your pentacles. I guess maybe it's aiming more for balance, right? Like pick up your sword, so to speak, right? Let that tower fall. Make a plan, strategize, use your wisdom, use your mind, use your cunning, right? But also see how many pentacles you could maybe bring with you. That might be the best way to put it. I suspect that if you're a King of Pentacles kind of person, you like to be comfortable. And so maybe this is saying, is there any way that you could knock the tower down, so to speak, and make some strategies to change some things about yourself, right? While also holding on to some of that or a bunch of that comfort that seems to have been so important. It could also maybe mean here like your values. Maybe it's think about what you really value. If we think of the way that the King of Pentacles here just has the 1 pentacle, maybe it's sort of saying that you might be uncomfortable for a while. But in the end, you'd have even more comfort, more well-being, more of your resources than you ever had before, right? So like you got to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. That's the kind of thing. I would focus especially though on this 7 of Swords here in the middle and think of that as strategize, right? Figure out really think about what changes you can make, not to prioritize your ego, but to prioritize relationships with others. And think about what changes you could make in your everyday life that might put you in situations where this Knight of Cups might show up, right? So that you could get something going with that person. All right, I will leave it there. Let me know what you thought of the reading. Tell me in the comments which which card really resonated for you here, and consider liking and subscribing if you want to help me grow the channel. I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I hope you are able to connect with and utilize your superpower as the Lovers. Hello, Group 2, and welcome to your reading. You chose the Magician as your significator. I will prop that little guy just right over here. We've got the Ocean Jasper crystal. I'll set that right up there. And the Ethereal Visions Tarot Luna edition, which I have shuffled. Let's pull some cards out from it and find out more about your superpower. Now, since you chose the Magician as the significator for your reading, I'm thinking that your superpower has to do with manifesting things. Your power is power, so to speak, right? Your ability to gather the resources that you need to make happen the thing that you want to make happen. Now, alongside that, I also think with the Magician, the Magician can play tricks, can make illusions, can make things seem one way when they're actually something else. altogether. So there may be at work here also in your superpower, not just the ability to manifest things, but the ability to, I don't necessarily want to say trick people, but like, I think you might have the ability to make things seem differently than they are in reality, which can be very beneficial and can be a lot of fun when it's done sort of in the right way. I'm thinking of like actors, for example. Actors are lying all the time, right? But we know they're lying, and that's why we enjoy it and we like it. So there might be that kind of thing sort of happening too here with your superpower. But let's ask this deck with 3 cards to tell us what is your superpower, having the magician providing some context as your chosen significator. 3 cards to answer the question. All right, first we have 2 of Pentacles. So maybe you're manifesting money over here. Maybe you're good at stretching a dollar, or pound or buck or euro or whatever kind of currency it is that you use. You're good at juggling money, perhaps. Maybe your ability to manifest things involves using money in the right way, knowing when $1 needs to be here and another needs to be there so that things don't fall apart. And maybe you can do well and get things done even if you don't have a ton of money. But let's see what the other cards are. The Emperor. Stability, structure, control, discipline, the ability to command. All of those are what come to mind with the Emperor. So here I'm thinking of having the discipline and the control to balance money or other resources, right? We know with Pentacles, it doesn't have to be money. Could be balancing your time, control, discipline over your time or your energy, right? All of those things I think would be very useful to someone who is manifesting something. Third card, 2 of Swords, focus, determination, maybe meditation, the ability to look at a problem that seems like maybe it doesn't have a solution and to find a solution anyways, right? All of these things are pointing towards magician stuff, if you ask me, right? These are all, I would say, facets or aspects of your magician superpower, right? It has to do with balancing resources. Even when maybe it seems like you don't have enough resources, you make it work anyways. Why? Because you're very disciplined. You have control over things. At least in the best possible circumstances, you have control over things, right? And you know how to make the tough decisions, right? You know how to cut things out that aren't totally necessary, and you know how to focus on things that are central to solving the problem. Okay, so let's ask next. We know what your superpower is. It's manifesting, creating things seemingly out of thin air, right? Let's ask, what is the best way you can use your superpower right now? What is the best way you can use your superpower right now in your current situation, your current context? How should you be using your ability to manifest? High Priestess, secret knowledge, studying, staying quiet, not communicating, something that you know to others because you can benefit from that. So she's quiet. Magician is number one of the major arcana. High Priestess comes right after. So I might think on the one hand, this could be you doing something, right? But it could also be a magician partnering up with a high priestess. That's the other thing that comes to mind, right? So, um, could you best put your superpower to good effect if you're partnering up with someone else, maybe someone who's really intuitive, who has some secret knowledge or specialized knowledge of some kind? But if this isn't another person, maybe it's saying you should use your discipline and your ability to manifest things to sort of gain knowledge in some way, right? The high priestess has her very beautiful silvery book down here that she's clearly been reading, and she knows a lot. So could you be gathering information, gathering knowledge, and specifically knowledge that other people don't have, right? The high priestess knows things that aren't common knowledge, right? It's specialized secret knowledge. 10 of Swords. So I wouldn't think here of defeat like I might in other contexts, but I'd asked how you could best put your power to use. And I'm thinking with 10 of Swords and High Priestess of seeing things from many different angles. If we think of swords as intellect, the mind, and 10 as the most swords you can have on any one card, I'm thinking of seeing a problem or a situation from many different angles, many different perspectives, getting every possible side on or aspect of a certain situation. So these, I think, are going together because she's gathering information. Why? To have more perspectives, right? To have more perspectives on the situation. Ooh, and the artist. So the artist is an additional major arcana that is specific to this deck, right? Number 23 in this deck. There's another card, the Well, specific to this deck. And so the artist is about creating in the real world some vision that you have inside of you, right? That's what artists do, right? They see something in their mind, at least visual artists, right? They see something in their mind, and then they use different mediums to make those things into something tangible and real that then they can share with other people, right? So if you're an artist, this would be pretty straightforward, but it could be more metaphorical if you're not necessarily an artist. It's still about creating something tangible in the real world, right? Just like the magician does, right? I feel like the magician and the artist are really similar to one another. I suppose the difference perhaps is, well, maybe it's not a difference, but I guess what I'm thinking of is the way that with an artist doesn't need, the thing they're creating doesn't have to already exist in the real world, right? Like an artist could, for example, imagine like a unicorn, right? And then draw a unicorn, but you can't go and find a real unicorn anywhere in the world, at least as far as I know, right? As far as I know, there are no actually existing unicorns anywhere on planet Earth, right? So it's their creativity that the cards are saying to tap into, right? Like create something that doesn't exist and maybe that other people think could not exist, but you've done your research, you have studied, you have gathered secret knowledge, you're seeing things from many different angles, maybe to an exhausted point, right? This could be a very tiring situation, but after having done it, you can create something. You can let loose your creativity on the world, and maybe help other people see things that they wouldn't have seen otherwise. So let's ask next. We know what your superpower is, and we know that study, practice, gaining knowledge is the key to putting it into practice. Let's ask, what could you get out of this? If you develop your superpower, what could come to you? What benefit could you manifest in your life if you're able to harness your superpower? 7 of Wands. So you could get the advantage in a situation. You could have a significant advantage over others, or if not other people, over challenges in your life that in another situation might overpower you, right? But you can have the upper hand, so to speak. So if you can harness and channel your abilities, you can get the upper hand in the situation. Ooh, King of Wands. And have power and knowledge over something you desire, right? Like maybe it's something you're trying to build. I'm getting that from the Wands, and then also with the Magician manifesting and the artist creating. Ooh, Knight of Cups. So I think there maybe is someone else involved in the situation, which brings me back again to an earlier interpretation of the High Priestess, in which I was wondering if you are the High Priestess or if the High Priestess is someone else. And maybe it's sort of both. Like maybe there is someone out there who has secret knowledge that you can learn from to gain more angles on the situation. And maybe you and this other person are being represented by the King of Wands and the Knight of Cups, right? And so these two together would be able, if they could cooperate, that would be the trick a little bit here, because they do represent different, they have different sort of elemental correspondences. And so there could be some conflict. Cups and Wands, water and fire. But if they could manage to work together, so if you could sort of collaborate with another person to manifest something together, I think the cards are saying that is the situation in which you could gain the most, right? On your own, you could still gain the upper hand. But I think that if you could work with someone else, well, let's ask that then. That'll be our next question. If you are able to not only focus and harness your own abilities of manifestation, right? Like planning, creating, gathering resources, making things happen in the real world, tapping into your creativity to do that, all of these things. If you could do it not just on your own, but if you could combine that with someone else, then what? That's our question. I'm thinking about like a power couple situation, something like that, maybe. Death, transformation, right? Caterpillar becomes butterfly. Ace of Pentacles, new beginning, new sense of well-being, maybe money coming in. and the Star. Ooh, hope, optimism, guidance. That is great. So, yeah, I think the trick here is not to isolate, is to manifest, but not on your own. Bring somebody else into the situation. If you and another person, whether it's a lover or a business partner or a friend or whatever it might be, I think you could really do some transformative stuff that could make something, could bring about a great new potential that's extremely optimistic, extremely hopeful for you. So let's grab the Inversion Tarot and do a focus message. Now I want to know, what should you be focusing on in the very near future? Like, what action could you take to help you develop your superpower, or tap into your superpower, or focus your superpower, whatever our verb is here? What should you be doing? What should you be focusing on in the very near future to really get into this? The Hanged Man. Maybe you need to wait for a moment, or maybe you need to gain, that's what it is. It's gaining this other perspective that we saw in the 10 of Swords with the High Priestess. So gaining a new perspective. Ooh, the Devil. So that you can get free of something that's holding you? Yes, your old perspective has chained you up. There's a way you're looking at things. There's a way that you are thinking about your life that is holding you back. And you need to gain a new perspective in order to get free from it, Four of Wands, so that you can have something to celebrate, right? So that you can build something more stable and really celebrate it. So I wonder if this other perspective that also would bring about a transformation needs to come. I just keep coming back to the High Priestess here, right? I really think that this is the key to your tapping into the full potential of your magician-ness, your power, right? I really think that it's either going to be you studying, gaining secret knowledge, or partnering, pairing up with someone who has access to that same kind of knowledge. I think that is really what needs to happen here. Some secret knowledge, some privileged knowledge that will give you a new perspective to get free of some of the ideas that I think are maybe holding you back, and that will leave you celebration on the horizon. So let me know in the comments what you thought. Let me know which of these cards resonated the most with you, and please consider liking and subscribing if you'd like to help me grow the channel. It would mean a lot to me. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best as you tap into your magician power, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone. Hello, Group 3, and welcome to your reading. You chose the Hanged One, number 12 of the Major Arcana, as your significator for this reading. We paired that with the Flower Agate. And I've got the Antique Anatomy deck here. And we are going to find out some more about your superpower. So, because you chose the Hanged One, I have a couple of thoughts as to what your superpower might be. First of all, of course, seeing things from a different perspective, right? We think of a person hanging upside down, and so they see the world differently than others do. And maybe that is part of your superpower. But there's a couple of other things to consider too. On the one hand, I think of making a sacrifice. Maybe you are the kind of person who is ready and willing and able to sacrifice for something that you think is really important, right? Maybe it's not just that you see things from a different perspective, but you are willing to give up something in your life that means something to you in order to do something important for that thing you believe in, right? I also think of somebody who is willing to endure and who is able to endure difficulties, obstacles, challenges, if they believe or know that at the end of all of those difficulties, obstacles, and challenges, there will be a payoff, right? And so I guess that's very similar to sacrifice. But the last thing I'd say with the Hanged One, at least right now, is being shameless, right? Saying to the world, sort of like, yeah, I know you don't get my perspective. I know that it looks to you all like I'm ridiculous and that I don't make sense to anybody, right? But I have no shame about the way that I am. And this fell out. Whoops, we've got a jumper. 2 blades. We'll look at that in a minute. I'm thinking honestly, if any of you are familiar with the movie The Birdcage and Nathan Lane's character in that movie, I'm thinking of the way that Nathan Lane's character, whose name is escaping me right at the moment, but like does not care how he looks to other people. And at one point in the movie says, I'm quite aware of how ridiculous I am, or something like that, right? But is shameless and is like, this is who I am. And I'm authentically being myself, even if maybe other people are snickering about me in the background. Like, I am who I am, right? Okay, so 2 swords, you're able also to make the hard decisions. You're able to focus, you're able to think, use your mind, and when you have to make the really difficult decisions. This can also be like having an argument with someone, right? So let me just prop that up. Like, if you need to, if you have to, you can argue your point, maybe to get other people to see your point of view, your perspective. So these first 3 cards are meant to elaborate an answer on the question, what is your superpower? And so we'll read them in conjunction with the Hanged One and the 2 of Blades that have already come up. But let's see, what is your superpower? Queen of Coins. So we can think of somebody stable, dependable, nurturing, takes care of herself, able to take care of others also. But I'm really thinking, particularly because of the other cards that we have on the table so far, of somebody who knows what they value, right? Someone who has been through it enough, lived enough of their life to say, this matters, this is valuable, and this other thing, it is not, right? Someone who knows what is important to them. That's the Queen of Coins. Knight of Blades. Interesting. So someone here who is intellectual, ready to try out new ideas, has begun an active process of determining what it is they really believe in, and then now is out on a quest to do that thing, to get that thing done, right? To some extent, these two cards contradict one another because the coins is earth and the blades are air, and those two elements contradict one another, right? Um, I would also think of the way that the queens are water and the knights are fire. And so these cards contradict each other in sort of every possible way. And so now I'm thinking about the two of blades and the way the blades cross, and then the fact that we have on the hanged one an actual cross here. And so there's something maybe about your superpower that is two very different things coming together, right? Like on the one hand, I think your superpower is the ability to endure, to see things from this different perspective, figure out what you value, and then to sort of potentially endure other people's lack of understanding or ignorance about that. But then on the other hand, we've got this Knight of Blades situation who is not so much about enduring as about fanatically converting other people to seeing their point of view, maybe even through arguments, and even if it destabilizes things a bit. And so I think that there are two poles to your superpower, right? And I think they both come through in the hanged one, but I think also the two of blades amplifying this cross situation where it's you have figured out what matters to you and you are comfortable with that and you're cool just sort of hanging out with it, right? On the one hand, but on the other hand, if other people are like trying to shame you about it or punish you about it, you are ready to fight them, right? You're like, yeah, I'm cool just hanging out here if y'all are cool with me hanging out here. But if you're going to come at me, I'm not just going to hang. I'm going to fight back, right? I'm going to be shameless about myself. And another knight here. So 3 courts. Knight of Rods, Knight of Blades, and Queen of Coins. And so maybe there are other people involved. That's the first thing that comes to mind. You know, first I interpreted these as 2 aspects of your personality, and maybe they are, and maybe this is a 3rd aspect, but maybe you're also drawing in help from a group, from friends, from other people. Family could be too, although I'm more likely to think that it's friends because these are all from different suits, right? And if we think of the suits as families of the deck, right? We've got coins, we've got blades, we've got rods. They're all different families. So I'm thinking more like a friend or community group of some kind and less an actual like traditional family. But I suppose it could go either way, depending on the individual context and situation that you're in. And so with the Knight of Rods, we think of someone who's ready to go on a journey, right? A passionate journey, someone who's ready to not just fight for what they believe in, but is open to sort of impulsively seeking out new experiences, right? The Knight of Rods loves to travel, for example. They are someone who is ready to maybe impulsively seek out new experiences. They like excitement. They like stimulation. They don't want to just sit still and keep doing the same thing. They would have, I think, a hard time, as I was saying earlier, just sort of hanging out, right? They need to be moving. Knight of Rods needs to be moving. And so maybe there's a feeling here that your superpower is one that you are comfortable with and able to fight for, but also you're considering maybe how it's something you could engage in a journey to move on from and maybe find a new superpower. Let's see. Let's ask the cards. That's the best thing to do, isn't it? Let's pull 3 more. And these next 3 cards, I want to know more about the Knight of Rods situation. So I want to know, is this a passionate journey? Is this a person coming into the situation? Is this trying to move on from where you're at now? What is the Knight of Wands doing here? 8 blades. Okay, you feel stuck and defensive. 10 coins. Wanting to pass something on to others or inherit something of your own. I'm thinking of family here with the 10 of coins, and family came up a moment ago as I was looking at the court cards, and judgment, reawakening, rebirth, being reborn. So yeah, I do wonder if if your superpower has put you in a kind of transition period where maybe you're feeling like a little bit like you're hanging around, so to speak, and you've figured out what you value, Queen of Coins, and you fought for it, and you're able and ready to keep fighting for it, Knight of Swords, blades, but you're also kind of over it, and you're like, I don't want to be persecuted anymore. I don't want to be oppressed or feel like backed into a corner anymore. I've been shameless. I am shameless. I am being myself. I'm doing my thing. And it's getting old because people are out against me. And I'm feeling stuck with the 8 of Blades. I have to be on the defensive all the time. And what you really want is to be kind of reawakened from that situation. Like if you could go to sleep and wake up the next day and be in a totally different context where you feel welcomed and loved and like you're amongst more of a family, chosen or traditional, whatever it might be, that prioritizes your well-being and your well-being and prioritizes your well-being in such a way that you can envision a long, happy life where you could be generous and leave good things to others. That's the sense I'm getting here, right? That your superpower is sort of in a transition phase. And maybe that's where we've got the 2 of Blades coming in with that being a choice and a difficult choice. That is the idea I'm getting here. So I almost think your superpower is not just to hang upside down forever, but to experience that, and then because you've experienced that, to be reborn from it. So let me ask now, with the next 3 cards, let's ask how. Let's ask how. How can you use your current superpower to transition out of the situation you're currently in and be reborn, reawakened from it? Okay, work with others, 3 coins. Justice, use your brain, but I think also your heart slow decisions. Work with others to make slow, just decisions that you can take responsibility for. 7 elixirs, because you have a whole lot of options in front of you. And so you need to make the right choice. We're back to choice again. With the 2 blades and the 7 elixirs, we're back to thinking about what are your options. So with the hanged one, like isn't making a choice. They are waiting, right? They are renouncing choices. But there's all this choice stuff coming up in the reading, which is making me think maybe you need to consider making the choice to not be in a hanged one position anymore and to sort of reawaken judgment, right? With judgment too, we could think of groups of people. I guess not so much on this card, but in many versions of the card, right? And so with the 3 coins, it's like collaborating with others. Could also be growing your resources, like saving up some money. And with justice, we've got finding balance. And so maybe that's the key. Maybe it's not that you can just wake up one morning and be reawakened, transformed with judgment. Maybe what you need to do is sort of incrementally save some resources and slowly, I think justice is moving very slow, make the right decision, something that you can take responsibility for and that in the long run will be the best thing for you. Because with the 7 of elixirs, it might be that all your options right now just don't look very good, right? And that you're not sure which option to take, like should you stay or should you go? Let's pull 3 more cards and ask if you are able to transition out of your hanged one superpower period and into your judgment justice period. I mean, another way to think of this too is like, do you need to be judging people more? Should you be a little more judgmental about these people who might be oppressing you or hanging you upside down? Because while it does give you a different perspective on life, it might be pretty uncomfortable. So, what is the best possible outcome for you if you can sort of flip things around? The Emperor, control, discipline. 5 elixirs. Destabilizing your emotions a bit. Maybe some change of heart, I would think here. 5s as change and elixirs as the heart. There might be some sadness coming in because even though getting out of your old situation and passing into the new one might be what you want, and having the stability and control over that might be really satisfying, there might also be a little bit of sadness, maybe about what you've had to leave behind, or disappointment that other people couldn't see things from your perspective, and so you've had to leave them behind. Which doesn't mean it's the wrong thing to do necessarily. And the star, beautiful. Hope, optimism. There is a light at the end of the tunnel for you here. If you feel like you are uncomfortably hanging upside down and trying to turn that into your superpower, maybe your superpower is actually to get things turned right side up again, So, like, let me see if I can put this in more concrete terms. I'm imagining a situation in which somebody is like really doing a spectacular job at surviving in a not so great situation and feeling like their superpower is that they're surviving anyways, even though they're being oppressed or held down or held back or whatever it is, right? And so maybe that's you. And I think the point of this reading is to help you realize that surviving in a bad situation, while commendable and necessary for many of us, is not necessarily the total results, the sum total of your superpower, and that your real superpower might be your ability to transcend that situation and surround yourself with people who can help you grow your well-being in a material, real world way, right? So that you can find some stability. And maybe you'll be a little bit disappointed with what you've had to leave behind because of that. But there is hope here. There is a light. There is a way out of this upside down situation that you've got yourself in. And just hanging out and getting through it, maybe that's part of your superpower. But I think the real superpower is going to be waking up one day and realizing you don't have to live like that anymore, right? You can sort of metaphorically be reborn, right? In a new context, in a new situation with different people who don't make fun of you because you see the world differently, right? Because you look different or act different or think different or whatever it might be. So let's ask the Inversion Tarot, what could you be doing in the very near immediate future to make some progress here? That's what I want to ask. Strength. You know, the Hanged One is sort of upside down, being punished for who they are and making sacrifices and seeing the world differently. Strength is being who they are right side up, and is strong and ready to authentically be themselves in the world, even if other people are going to come at them for it. Four Pentacles, finding a stable material situation, holding on to what you have, right, in order to promote stability in your life. And Four Swords. So it's all about strength and stability here, right? It's all about strength and stability. With Four Swords, we have a stable mind. We've got rest also. Maybe instead of hanging upside down, maybe you need to take a break from things, rest, withdraw a little from the world, especially if they're making fun of you, persecuting you in some way. But this is in the immediate future. It's all about finding your strength, saving your strength, holding on to it, right? Maybe withdrawing a little bit, getting a stable mind and a stable body, stable well-being. That's the short term. That's what you need to focus on, right? With the goal, I think, long term of getting to this situation, right? Reawakening, rebirth, finding yourself in a totally new context where you're with other people who don't want to hang you upside down, right? But like you just the way that you are. That's what I'd say. All right, let me know in the comments what resonated for you about this reading. I really liked this one. It took me a while to get there, but I think we got to a really good place. And consider liking and subscribing if you got something out of this. I'd love to continue this channel and grow this channel, and liking and subscribing is the way we do it nowadays. So I'll leave it there. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.